At 90, Charles Handy woke up each morning surprised still to be alive. Doctors told him his stroke would likely trigger a fatal second one within 2 years. He called himself statistically dead. Instead of waiting passively, he spent those borrowed years writing essays for the Idler magazine, transforming 9 decades of lived experience into practical wisdom. Handy's credentials were impressive. Shell executive, best-selling business author, London Business School professor, warden of Windsor Castle's think tank, he'd lived multiple lives. These final essays focus on what mattered to him when facing mortality. Between 2020 and 2024, as he walked in what the Bible calls the valley of the shadow of death, he wrote with the clarity that only endings bring. In this blink, you'll find key insights Handy offers across 5 areas of life: understanding yourself, connecting with others, reimagining work, living with purpose, and accepting mortality. Each section presents 4 or 5 essential ideas drawn from that part of his reflections. Wrong career turns that led somewhere better, friendships that redefined success, work reimagined, death accepted with grace. Not abstract theories, but real lessons tested across a lifetime and refined by the ultimate teacher, impending death. When someone stands at the summit looking back down the mountain, their guidance on the climb carries weight. Handy reached that summit, and these are his hard-won lessons for those of us who are still climbing. Handy's friend Raji once emailed him from Mumbai to share a new saying, "Sometimes the wrong train leads you to the right destination." Handy knew exactly what this meant from his own life. Fresh out of university, he'd joined Shell International to become a wealthy oil executive. His mother drove him to the airport. As he left, looking miserable and anxious, she rolled down the window. "Never mind, dear, it'll all be great material for your books." He protested. He was going to get rich, not write books. But in Borneo, managing Shell's marketing operations, he failed badly. So he bought American management books to study and found them appalling. He rewrote the theories in clear English, illustrated with stories from his disasters. His book sold 1 million copies. Publishers wanted more. He'd boarded a train to Shell but arrived at Penguin and the BBC, doing what he loved. His advice to his grandchildren? Experiment in your 20s before mortgages trap you. Take the wrong trains. They might lead somewhere better. This raises a deeper question. When the train finally stops, how do you measure whether you've succeeded? His teenage grandchildren had clear answers. Money for yachts and dream houses, so he took them to see their grandmother's grave. Someone had planted snowdrops when she died. The flowers had spread across the cemetery, covering the graves of friends and neighbors. His wife would spend an hour on the phone keeping in touch with friends. She'd invite people to Sunday lunch and pour them good wine with love. She called him her best friend once. He was her chief snowdrop. Success measured in relationships means being surrounded by flowers when you die. When it comes to getting anywhere meaningful, life requires what Handy calls decent doubt. Oliver Cromwell once wrote to stubborn Scottish elders, "I beseech you, in the bowels of Christ, think it possible that you may be mistaken." Doubt opens the door to learning. Without questioning your own certainty, you stay stuck. Another essential skill? Listening. Theater director Declan Donnellan told Handy that great directing means paying attention, getting inside someone else's world instead of telling them what to do. Studies show excessive talking diminishes your ability to listen. Both speaker and listener gain when you truly pay attention. Finally, comfort with uncertainty matters. When Handy faced difficult exams at Oxford, his tutor gave unexpected advice: go lie on your back and listen to cricket. The boring game would clear his mind completely. Handy did exactly that. He walked into the exam hall feeling he knew nothing, and that was fine. He passed, thanks to what came from an empty mind rather than from crammed-in facts. Wrong trains, relationships over wealth, doubt instead of certainty, listening over talking, comfort with not knowing. None of these is a weakness. They're actually how you find your way. Years ago, Handy heard a BBC interview with an Italian journalist. The Italian government had just collapsed for the 3rd time in 2 weeks. "This is very important for your country," the presenter said. The journalist replied, "Yes, it is very serious. But it is not important. Every Italian understands the distinction. National politics? Serious. What you discuss at dinner? Important. Italians organize life around three things: family, friends, and food. Get those right and life continues, whatever happens in Rome. Bills can wait until next week. Sunday lunch with family can't. Handy notes that life has to be lived, not just paid for. This principle extends to how you choose your people. After his stroke confined him to his apartment, Handy discovered something he'd always known. You need others to be fully yourself. Friends who've known you a long time know you better than you know yourself. They remind you who you used to be and who you still are. A true friend accepts all your flaws and still wants to have lunch with you. Some people, though, don't deserve that lunch invitation. Handy and his wife once divided their friends into two categories: drains and radiators. Radiators warmed the atmosphere and made life pleasant. Drains left them exhausted. The results surprised them. Bill, who saw himself as a gift to humanity, became tedious with his repetitive stories and bad jokes. He turned into a drain. Meanwhile, Tom hardly said a word but infused the place with warmth. He became a radiator. You can audit your own relationships this way. Who energizes you? Who depletes you? Handy learned something else from the Italians. Privacy is overrated. One summer evening, he returned to his Tuscan apartment exhausted and found a newly married couple posing for photos on his lawn. Furious, he grabbed a stick. His wife stopped him. They've just got married. The groom explained Italian law calmly. All land belongs to everyone. You might own it, but you can't prevent people from walking on it. Handy's wife sliced cake and opened champagne. They celebrated with the couple, who then invited them to Sunday lunch. The bride's father turned out to be the local police chief, a useful connection. Remember, privacy enforced builds walls between you and the world around you. Hospitality opens doors. Handy was sitting in his plantation-style house in Malaysia, playing bridge with army friends, when a realization struck. This wasn't what he wanted to do with his life. He was the local shell manager, which mostly meant socializing with plantation heads and government officials. Bridge, endless drinks. Pleasant enough, but empty. He realized he needed to distinguish between two types of freedom. Freedom from something, escaping what you dislike, and freedom to something, creating what you want. Most people chase freedom from their current situation without defining freedom to pursue a purpose. That leaves you drifting. Handy left Shell to pursue freedom to write and teach. The distinction matters. That freedom could mean working for yourself. 40 years ago, when unemployment was rising, a young Andrew Marr interviewed Handy for the BBC. Handy argued that while there weren't enough jobs, there was still plenty of work to be done. People should hunt it out and create their own businesses. Within 20 years, the self-employed would outnumber the unemployed. Marr thought it was pure fantasy. Handy admits he wasn't sure either, but he'd done it himself, left Shell's security to become a freelance writer and speaker. It was terrifying at first, but he loved it and earned more than Shell ever paid him. His advice? Try flying solo. It's not as cold outside as it looks once you get going. Just pay off your mortgage first if you're over 40. Whether you work for yourself or others, leadership requires rethinking. Handy learned this during his first Shell management role. Raised in an Irish rectory to be kind to those worse off, he tried to lead with pure niceness. He failed badly. Kindness and leadership can coexist, but you need clarity alongside compassion. Being kind means being honest. Being nice often means avoiding difficult truths. Another principle: leave people alone. Catholics call this subsidiarity. Decisions should happen at the lowest appropriate level, closest to the action. It's immoral for higher authorities to make decisions that lower-level people can make themselves. In practice, don't micromanage. Trust people near the work to make the right calls. Handy also learned to measure success differently. At a Napa Valley winery, he asked the owner how he'd beaten his competitors and was told it was a focus on quality over quantity. Placing in the top few wines at the annual tastings would let him dominate his competitors. Quality over scale, excellence over expansion. Growth isn't always the goal. Sometimes better trumps bigger. One February morning, Handy's family suggested a walk on the beach. He refused, adding that they were falling into a trap of dichotomy. They asked what that meant. A dichotomy presents two alternatives when many options exist. Brexit, in or out. Referenda, yes or no, beach or not beach. Politicians love dichotomies because they simplify choices and steer voters toward preferred options. But dichotomies stifle imagination by excluding other possibilities. When you encounter one, add some buts. No to the freezing North Sea beach, but yes to a favorite restaurant. Or yes to the beach, but wait for warmer weather. The family ended up watching rugby by the fire. Dichotomies oversimplify and restrict creativity. Related to this, distinguish personality from character. Personality is the mask you put on for the world. You can shape it. Character reveals itself over time through your reactions to events and situations. Personality might get you hired. Character determines whether you succeed long term. Focus on building character, not just managing your image. Another insight: differences strengthen relationships and organizations. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Handy and his wife listed what they had in common. Not much. She loved skiing. He found it terrifying. When making decisions, she relied on gut instinct. He relied on evidence and logic. Yet their differences made them a powerful partnership. Margaret Thatcher composed her cabinet from people who thought like her. This led to tyranny and the disastrous poll tax. Abraham Lincoln chose rivals for his cabinet, ensuring diverse opinions and better decisions. Handy also learned empathy during the COVID-19 pandemic. Seeing the world through others' eyes transforms understanding. Pause before judging. Consider circumstances. Compassion builds bridges. Then there's the question of God. Handy tells the story of a little girl in South India, scribbling at the back of her class. Her teacher asked what she was drawing. "A picture of God," she said. The teacher replied that nobody knows what God looks like. The girl answered, "They will when I've finished. Draw your own picture. Define meaning and transcendence for yourself. Your spiritual path is yours to create." On the weekend of Queen Elizabeth II's Platinum Jubilee, Handy's daughter suggested they celebrate. He asked what they'd be celebrating. She pointed out Handy was in his 90th year, still alive, still writing and giving lectures. That was remarkable. His granddaughter agreed, so they planted 3 trees and filled the fridge with champagne. Getting old, Handy discovered, brings unexpected freedom. You're no longer driven by ambition or social pressure. You can say what you think. You've earned the right to be cantankerous. His relationship with God evolved too. When Handy was a child, God was like a stern headmaster, kindly but strict. Follow the rules and all would be well. But those rules didn't seem to work. When Handy stumbled and said, "God help me," nothing happened. So he wrote God a letter explaining his disappointment. He concluded that God isn't a problem solver or rule maker. God is something else, perhaps a companion on walks in the woods, where each leaf is perfect yet different, part of the natural order of things. That natural order includes breaking and mending. A visitor once gave Handy a book on kintsugi, the Japanese art of repairing broken ceramics with gold. The repaired pieces aren't restored to look as good as new. They're deliberately different, with golden seams highlighting where they broke. The breaks become beautiful. This transformed how Handy saw his own brokenness, his stroke, his failures, his scars. They weren't flaws to hide. They were part of his story, made visible and valuable. The Stoics understood this acceptance. Epictetus taught that the world runs on natural order. Spring follows winter, summer follows spring, then autumn, then death. We're all subject to this cycle. The walnut tree Handy planted 50 years ago grew, flourished, dropped nuts, and then weakened, just like him. It would die and be replaced by another tree. Handy's passing wouldn't be marked by a public holiday. Life continues. His housekeeper had a phrase, "Never mind." When he spilled wine, she would rush to clean it up, saying, "Never mind," meaning it didn't matter in the great scheme of things. When he told her he thought he was dying, she said, "Never mind." At first he was furious. Then he realized she was right. Death is part of the great scheme. Like the walnut tree, you do your bit, then go. As Hamlet said, contemplating his own demise, "If it be not now, yet it will come. The readiness is all." Handy was ready. In this Blink to the View from 90 by Charles Handy, wisdom emerges from a life lived fully and examined deeply. Handy distilled his life into essential lessons about what truly matters. You discovered that wrong turns often lead to right destinations, that success measures itself in relationships rather than wealth, like snowdrops spreading across a cemetery, and you learned the Italian art of distinguishing what's serious from what's important. Family, friends, and food always come first. You also learned to distinguish freedom from something versus freedom to something, to value character over personality, and to embrace the Japanese wisdom of kintsugi, that breaks in life, once mended, make us stronger and more beautiful. And finally, through the Stoics, you discovered peace with the natural order. Spring follows winter, life follows death, and we're all part of an eternal cycle. These reflections represent Handy's final literary work, written between 2020 and 2024, as he faced his own mortality with remarkable clarity. He passed away peacefully on December 13, 2024, at his home in London, surrounded by his children and grandchildren. The View from 90 was published posthumously in 2025, offering us his hard-won lessons from the summit of a long, well-examined life. And there you have it, Wisdom from the Summit. If you enjoyed Handy's reflections, please leave us a rating. We always appreciate your feedback.